Hey, good
Hey,
morning.
happy October 11th,
Oh my gosh, 10-11.
10/11.
Yeah,
Time's a flying.
yeah. We missed 10-4, good buddy. That was last week.
10/4. Yeah,
Yep.
that was also Ashley's birthday.
Ah, yeah.
Big
Yeah.
2-4.
Oh wow. 2-4 on 10-4. All right. Over
Yep.
and out. Roger, Roger.
And then I got my birthday next Tuesday, the big
Yeah.
5-0.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a big one, man.
Yeah, getting
You
old.
doing anything special?
Nope, working. That's about it. It's just another rotation around the sun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, it is a big deal, though. See,
yeah.
you are now what 5 years closer to senior coffee at McDonald's.
Hey, there you
Unless
go.
they've changed it. It used to be 55. So, of course, you should be getting your paperwork from the American Association of Really Old People, AARP.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep, moving
Yeah.
along, but things are going well here. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. We were in Baltimore over the weekend for the Edgar Allan Poe Festival. Went very well. We sold a lot of books, not just Poe, but Crimson Shadows. And
So how's the turnout there? We've never. This is our first time being having a presence at that event, right?
yeah, it was busy. I mean, we had rain on Saturday to start, and then it cleared up.
Was this
Um,
outdoors or indoors?
It was outdoors. It's an
Oh,
outdoor
okay.
festival, so we had a tent. We were in a tent. They had a nice tent. I mean, it was a good, hard, solid tent. Those big white ones you see for events and that.
Yeah.
Um, so we kind of planned ahead. We had a tarp just in case it was like blowing in. We had to cover everything. I had a raincoat. We had umbrellas. We were prepared. And unfortunately, it was about 1 o'clock. It started 1 o'clock. It was pretty much done. Felt like it took forever, but it was just about done. um, and then the sun came out. But even during the rain, people were coming in. They were looking. They were buying, and
Nice.
and they were interested. I mean, we sold. Gosh, I want to say we sold close to between 40 and 50 of the Poe trades.
Nice.
And on the Crimson Shadows side, I know of at least, I think, 8 sets of four. And then we sold some mix in there. So we probably sold 50 to 60 comics
Nice.
on that. And then we both brought a little bit of art and we sold some of that too.
Yeah.
It did very well. We were very happy with it. We would go back again. Nice people around us that had done it for years before. And of course, our good friend Enrica is the director of the Poe House, and
Yeah.
she was helping. She was overseeing some things, and she had another guy, Will, that was kind of taking care of the day-to-day operations while they were there. They had a great reception on Friday night. We didn't know what to expect. I brought a little bit nicer shirt and just in case, still wore jeans, and so we didn't feel out of place. But we're like, okay, so this is a little bit nicer. It was in the hall, Westminster Hall, which is attached to the church, which is where Poe is buried.
Hmm.
And then very, very beautiful place. I didn't upload any photos. I took a couple here and there. And then they had some hors d'oeuvres, some nice food. So we basically had a free meal that night and then free drinks. And we got to talking to different people. Ran into a guy who goes to Comic Cons all the time, knows half the people we know. So we ended up chatting with him for a little bit and a few other people. So it was really nice. It was a good experience. And we went in. Yep, that was it right there. We went in on the as cheap as we could with using points for the flight, just splitting hotel. The cost to be at the event was almost nothing. So, in terms of that aspect, but it worked around all around just great. And they're expanding it next year. Next year's the 175th anniversary of his death. So it
Wow.
sounds like they're expanding a little bit more. They have Wells Fargo and a few other good sponsors that are really putting money into it. You can see them there. Paul Baltimore, sponsored by Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Yeah, development's been there since day one, and this was the 6 years. Next year's the 7th year. Plus, it's like the 75th anniversary of the Poe Museum and a bunch of other stuff. And if you ever get to Baltimore, it's great to check out that little museum. It's his old house. They have parts of it kind of blocked off with just clear plastic. They don't want anybody going in and touching stuff, but they have it set up kind of how it would have been if he was there.
Yeah.
And it's nice. And then you can donate online. When you go there, they have a nice gift shop, of course. They sell a bunch of different stuff, things like that. And so just all around was a really good show and a good event.
They had
And
the Death Weekend bus tour.
yeah, I mean they bust everybody around, which you kind of have to in that area. Some of
Yeah.
those areas are not good areas.
Yeah.
So you can do the house, which is right there. Then they bus you over to the probably the graveyard and a few other places.
Yeah.
Um, and so definitely was a lot of fun. And if it fits the schedule, we wouldn't mind doing it again. It's because it's a great way to promote Bardstone.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's our crowd over there
yeah,
for that.
and with us going to trade next with this first 4 issues of the Crimson Shadows, that's something we'll be talking about as Kickstarters here soon.
Hmm.
It's something that the issues go fine, but they're definitely, you have to charge more for the individual issues than we will with the trade.
Right.
And I think we would have sold more trades than we did issues, because a lot of people were interested, and some people say, "Well, I'll kind of wait and see what you guys do next year," and
Yeah.
like that. So we get that at Comic-Con, so it's not a big deal. So
Yep. And that's moving along. I'm getting very close to being done with the colors, and then I
mhm.
can go to Brett for lettering. And then while he's doing that, I'm going to work on cover designs, because we're going to have a soft cover version and a hardcover version. So I'm
Yep.
going to work on designing the cover, especially for the hardcover version. I want to come up with something special there.
Yeah.
So really excited for that. And
of course, there's Kevin. Good morning, Kevin.
yeah, good morning.
Chiming in this morning. Anyway, like I said, we had a great time. It was just we weren't sure what to expect on the whole front of everything, but we were excited to be there. And nice thing is, different than a Comic-Con, people going to this thing were a little more excited. There's a few from the neighborhoods that came in, but it was people that really came in. There's people that flew in from all over, people from overseas and everything else, just for this little festival. And they've really grown it from being very small to it's getting bigger and bigger every year. And it's a great way to not just celebrate the works of Edgar Allan Poe, but to encourage literacy, reading, creativity, because they have so much different stuff going on. They had people next to us did movies. There's people that were putting on performance art. There was bands, things like that. So nice, good mix of stuff.
Nice. Yeah, when you got a show like that, you never know what you're going into. Sometimes these little shows are very little and barely any turnout, and sometimes they're gangbusters. Because you have a hardcore fan base that's there. So it sounds like this was a really good show, and really done well.
Yes.
Awesome.
So good time on that. So
good times.
And of course, I got home Monday and I worked yesterday, and I'll take today and tomorrow off and back to work again on Friday and through the weekend. But so always still recovering, because even though it wasn't like a hard show, it still takes a lot out of you being outside and all that. So
yeah, outdoor shows are tough, especially this time of year. Place like Baltimore, you could have had high winds, you could have had heavy rains, or you could have beautiful sun. You just don't know what you're going into.
Yeah.
So very good.
Yeah. So, and what have you been up to? Because we haven't talked since last Wednesday. Probably working a lot.
It's been very busy. We've had some closings and some clients who we've been working with. So just been very busy between that and really working on getting this next phase of Crimson Shadows done. I haven't had too much time entertainment wise. We'll be talking about the Ahsoka series that got wrapped up. Did you watch episode 1 of Loki season 2?
I did.
Yep,
In fact, I've watched it twice.
Okay, so we got that to talk about, and I'm trying to think. Gen V, did you start Gen V yet?
Yes. I am. I think I'm caught up.
Yeah, I think it's 4 episodes.
4. Yep.
Yeah. So we can talk some of that. Movie wise, wasn't much out really, so nothing that was like really grabbing me, so I didn't go to the movies. So it's just been a busy week. But how about I jump into the ad read?
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that? Sorry.
All right.
I had somebody had to answer real quick, so
that's okay. I figured I would do that while you're taking care of business over there. We've got Teen Titans Real Estate. Why? Because you matter. That's right. Even though we utilize the latest in tools and technology to maximize your home buying and or selling experience, we never forget at its core, it's a people business. Go figure. We put people first. And it really does matter. I hear over and over again so many stories of people who were unhappy with service they had because the person just never called, never returned, things, or they worked for them, but they didn't really pay attention to what the actual needs of the client was. So that's where we come in. We really take the time to get to know you, and everybody it's not a cookie cutter business. Everybody has different needs, motivations, financial situations. Everything's different for every single client. And so that's what we take into account when we are helping you with your probably the largest financial asset that you have, which is your home. So give us a call. Jill and I are here for you. I just posted the number up in the comments. 586-232-5144 is our hotline. Give us a call, and the consultation is free of charge.
Excellent. And we also got Larger Family Chiropractic Center PC, located in Belleville, Michigan, and Dexter, Michigan. And they take great pride in providing the finest chiropractic care to each and every patient, offering on-site digital x-rays, orthotics by foot levelers, young living essential oils, aromatherapy, full line of vitamins, all in a family-oriented environment. Give them a call, 734-697-4244. There's my line at largerfamilychiropractic.com. We have a link it on Musings, as well as here on Facebook. Look for Larger Family Chiropractic Center PC. They have 779 likes, 798 followers. You can give them a call right from there, like, and send them a message. I personally would not send them a message because I don't think they're as good as following up on that stuff.
Phone calls are best.
Phone call would be best, and they have different hours in both locations, but the main phone number is to the Belleville location, which has the most hours. So definitely check them out. I was talking to a guy that works there at Meyer that I see all the time, and he was asking about a couple things and mentioned something about chiropractor. And I said, yeah, I go to chiropractor every week. He goes, every week? So I got some issues. I said that from a car accident, it's really bad. I said, not everybody has to go as much as I choose to go. Right. Which is the key point there. I choose. They don't tell me I need to go. They don't keep trying to force me to keep going. Things like that. I just find it works for me. So I told him, I said, check out Lawrence. He's out there towards the Dexter area. So he's going to go and check them out and help with a couple things. He has some issues with his shoulders. He's like, I know it's like my shoulder dips more here than over here. And I got some other issues. I said, yeah, that's some stuff. They'll take some x-rays. They'll work with you, take your insurance. They'll see if the insurance covers it, because not all insurances do. And sometimes, though, the insurance will cover x-rays, but just won't cover the actual chiropractic treatment based on whatever insurance you have. But always take your insurance and let them check that out for you. So definitely check them out. Larger Family Chiropractic.
One thing I want to cover too real quick about that is sometimes people will be like, oh, they make you go every week, or they don't make you. But what's going to happen is you're going to feel good, and your body will tell you when you need to go back. Right. And you'll start feeling it. You'll feel like the tension building up in the spine or neck or wherever you carry that tension. And you'll feel a discomfort that prior to going, you just considered it normal, and you didn't realize how much tension you were carrying. And then you go and you get the relief, and you're like, oh, that's what I'm supposed to feel like. And then your body will hold the adjustment for a certain amount of time. And the longer you go, the longer your body will hold. Like for me, I go once a month, and it works great for me going once a month. But it's not that I have to go once a month. It's just around the 1 month mark, I can start feeling something going on up here. I can feel something over here. So I go back, get that little adjustment, and I feel great again. So they don't make you go. You're going to want to go just because you feel good. One thing, like for me, prior to going to the chiropractor on a regular basis, just doing this, I would actually hear, like inside my head, I could hear the skull and spine grinding. I could hear a grinding.
Yeah.
Ever since going, that's gone. I used to crack my neck.
Which is not good for you to do.
Right. But I would have to crack it 6-8 times a day easily, where I would twist my head a certain way and do this loud crack. I have, ever since going regularly, I think I've done it in all seriousness twice in 8 months.
Yeah.
I mean, my neck feels good. So that's what chiropractic care does. Your spine is the channel. Your spinal cord goes down there. That's the channel where your brain sends all the signals through the nervous system to the rest of your body. And when that's all in alignment, the nerves are firing properly.
Yep.
So check out Loringer. They do top-notch service.
Yep. And I was telling this guy, I said, look, it's not a cure, but it helps your body to heal. And, there's some things that, go on. I don't ever really say it cures, because nothing really truly cures in a lot of ways, but it definitely helps you a lot to get better and feel better and work better. And your body itself can do some natural healing at that point. So,
yep.
So excellent.
Awesome.
So, yeah. So I was gone a lot last week, between work and travel. So I haven't watched a ton of stuff. I did, like I said, I watched Gen V. I caught that Thursday night. It's almost difficult to give a review on the show because the show is not safe for work. It is very hardcore.
It's,
Um,
it's probably the single most realistic superhero universe, though, that has ever been created.
right.
I love how they incorporate even things like corporate sponsorships, athletics, like a world filled with superheroes. A lot of things would be different in our world today. Like a world with like the Justice League or even the Avengers. Everything else in reality kind of still remains the same in our world. But in The Boys, you see how like the superheroes are getting the sponsorships and the races are between superheroes now because we always want to see who's the fastest. Like regular NFL would not be fun anymore if we had a world of superheroes.
No.
We wouldn't want to watch average people playing. We'd want to see superheroes playing, So I think it's really cool the way they really look at how not just that part of the world gets changed, but also politics gets involved, big dollar spending, corruption at high levels. Like all this would be real stuff. So I think it's really
the biggest
cool.
thing I think they show is that is the corporate. I mean, it's set on a campus, and one of the classes is basically on publicity, on how to publicize, be an influencer as a superhero and publicize, do all this other stuff. So branding and things like that.
And the rankings, it's like, well, that person's really good, but they don't trend well. In the poll, so we're not going to make them number one.
Well, they've already alluded to how what will happen is like some of these people, they all want to be in the 7, which is the big group. But I would say, well, you'd be lucky to get some little podunk town somewhere to be their superhero,
right?
And because they control your life from then on is bought,
right?
So it's kind of one of those things where they, you have no choice on a lot of this stuff. So
so it's really cool the way they address this, but they also, on an individual level, having that kind of power can corrupt people. So you have some people who misuse their powers, even if they're not bad guys, they are twisted by the amount of power they have.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. One thing I didn't notice right away, though, did you notice who was playing the main guy at the beginning? What was his name? Golden Boy, or what was his name?
Yeah, Golden Boy was a kid that in the first episode he kills himself. So.
Yeah. So do you know who that actor was?
No.
That was Schwarzenegger's son.
Oh yeah, that's right. I did mention that last week, I think.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I didn't realize that
because
he doesn't look like Schwarzenegger, and he doesn't really look like his mother either. He's really got a blend of the two. When he's not huge.
The one that looks like Schwarzenegger is the one that Schwarzenegger had out of wedlock with his maid.
Right.
He's the one that's really big and is really going more of trying to get the size that Arnold has, but this one, he's in really great shape, but he's a leaner build. But once I realized it was him, I look at him like I can see it now, but at first I couldn't.
Yeah, you get a little bit there. So yeah, and that he's 30. He I just pulled him up, looked him up real
Patrick?
Quick. It's Patrick. Yep.
Yeah.
There's also Joseph Boehner. That's the one you were talking about.
Yeah.
And then there's Schwarzenegger names are Christopher, Catherine, and Christina are his other siblings. Yep. So. And that, but yeah, no, he was good, and I liked him in this. It's I know he's been doing some acting, really trying to make a name for himself. Oh, I forgot he's in the Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he was in that one. So
okay,
and he played Jeff. And there's probably either one of the high school kids or it's been a long time since I watched that because it came out in 2015. It was a funny movie.
Fun one. Yeah, I only saw it one time, so my memory's a little vague, but I enjoyed it.
I've seen it a couple of times I saw it once in the theater and once at home, and it was definitely funny. I like the take they did on all the zombie apocalypse stuff, and centering around the kids that were scouts, and the one was the only one to be a scout, and he was kind of the nerdy kid, and his two friends didn't want to be scouts, but they did it because they were his best friends, and so they have that little tension going on when they find out why they really stayed as scouts. They want to go off and hang out with all the cool kids. And
But if you don't know about the Boys universe and Gen V and stuff, it's funny what they do. They are over the top in a lot of ways. I really enjoyed this last one where the guy's superhero power is he can find evidence really well. and he has like this TV show. Kind of has a Dan Abrams look, like from
that guy was he was also in a show on Hulu called Future Man. He's actually really hilarious
okay,
in that,
yeah,
and he
but
plays a similar type of character, just not a superhero, just a future guy.
so it sounds like he has a tumor in his brain that's causing him to be a little promiscuous with every hole he finds.
Yeah.
So like they do some funny angles with that. At the end, do you see the end credits? He's with the hand dryer.
Yeah, he was well. He saw a knot hole in a tree.
Yeah,
And he's finishing up his last speech. He tells him, "Yeah, I'm going to need a few minutes, guys." Sends them away, and he goes and has fun with the tree.
yeah,
But he could through senses and that he could sense when somebody's heart rate changes, the different pheromones, things like. So you can tell when they're
yeah.
lying. So basically, he's a human lie detector.
Right.
And that who carries himself like Gilderoy Lockhart from Harry Potter.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
He's he's this great guy, got this TV show, wrote all these books, had a successful movie, things like that. That's part of the whole universe. You have to have these successful movies, and that. But he's really just a big douche.
Yeah.
And that. So, but yeah, he's funny. The actor who played him, looking at him going the whole time, like, God, I know him. And then I pulled up Future Man, and that was on Hulu several years ago. The first season was really good. And the second season kind of started going downhill. I think it had 3 seasons, and it just sucked after that. But if you watch the first season, at least, Haley Joel Osment's in it. He plays a doctor in that. Seth Rogen has an appearance in it. I think he produced it too. Josh Hutcherson stars as Josh Futterman, and he's, of course, Josh is going to be in that new Five Nights at Freddy movie that's coming out.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But Derek Wilson plays Wolf, who was also Tech Knight in the Gen V.
Yeah. He kind of reminded me visually of Richard Armitage.
Yes.
He kind of looked similar to. It took me a moment too. I'm like, wait, is that him? Because I haven't. Where has Richard Armitage been? He's kind of disappeared. He was like in everything for a little while.
I don't know. Yeah,
but he kind of has that look that he had.
Yeah, they have a very similar build.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So let me see here. Oh, he's been on a show called Obsession.
Richard Armitage?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't know anything about that. Erotic thriller, 1 season, it says. It's got a very low score, 1.9.
Speaking of him, did you ever see the BBC version of Robin Hood?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of that.
Me and Ashley used to watch that all the time when she was young. That was a really fun show. That's was right. Back in 2006, it says. It came out. Yeah. But that was a fun take on the Robin Hood series. That's where I first got introduced to him. And then, of course, he was in Lord of the Rings. He was
the Hobbit movies and played Thorin. Yeah.
Yep. So
and that. So yeah, so much stuff. He's I was looking. He's got a bunch of stuff on here, but yeah, currently. Most recent thing it shows is Obsession, but I'm just looking on Google. I'm not looking on IMDb here. So, but yeah, so yeah, some people they fall in and out of favor in Hollywood. That's how it happens, or they just decide they want to take a break for a while. So,
yep, very cool. Yeah, so Gen V, I'm enjoying it still. I find the writing to be, the storylines I really find interesting. Because. Yes, they are a little bit of adult nature, but they keep the tension going with the characters is what's really good. And it makes you want to see, like, okay, what happens next? Where's this going? And that's good writing when they do that.
And it's been the story I like what they're doing. I like the actors in it. There's a lot of them that are really good, have been around with different things. But as it goes on by this 4th season, they're adding more elements in. And of course, they do take it to an extreme, especially with they deal with a date rape incident. You have a character that could supposedly is like a seer or whatever. Oh, basically, he just uses his power to knock out women and rape them. And she wakes up in time to stop it, and
she has an interesting way of stopping it.
She can control blood, and you can think about how he is and where the blood is, and kaboom.
Yeah. Think of an exploding banana.
Yeah. Not getting too more graphic, but yeah. So yeah, it's definitely a little hardcore, like I said.
I find it interesting too. They have this one, they're labeling it as like a transgender superhero where the character can change from male to female.
Yes.
And but what I find interesting, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the character has different powers in each of the when is certain powers when he's a male and certain powers when he's a female.
Well, Scott, you are wrong, but not about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed too. It's these different powers, and the character itself is, it sounds like they haven't got too much into the origin, if I can tell, unless I missed something. But the character wants to be female
Right.
more. Will be male because it works what the character needs. And of course, all these characters were given the compound V, so they weren't like born just with powers and that was
Right.
developed. And that sounds like something that would have developed because of being of Asian heritage. The parents want the son, and that's who they come to see in the episode. Is they come to see the son while the girl is going at it with some guy.
Right.
So has to get rid of the guy, and then has to clean up and change things. And dresses very almost ambiguously in some ways. You could the clothes will go both ways in a lot of ways, but sometimes will be in just female attire.
Mm-hmm.
But also will is attracted. You can tell the character is attracted, as a male attracted to females attracted to males, maybe in females too. They haven't gotten too much into that, but it's an interesting look at not so much I would say even transgender as the especially with the Chinese culture, which they've not really said it's Chinese or not, wanting sons and not getting a son, having one child, and they end up having telling both in one. So,
well, my understand based on my interpretation,
mm-hmm.
I think it was when they encounter the parents at that party and they're kind of talking about the past. I got the impression it was born male and was male until the compound V was introduced, and then this power is, I wouldn't even call it transgender, to be honest. The power is they fully change into, like, their whole body, reproductive system, everything is now female.
Yeah, it reminds me of an anime I saw many, many years ago called Project Echo, and the character would change between male and female.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't just be looks or just how they dress. It's a complete physical transformation. So.
Right. They are fully, which then brings into question too. If you're doing that much of a change, I mean, this is all fake, but if you're doing that much of a change, the hormones are probably changing too. Everything's probably changing during this conversion. But so, you probably would think more like a female in that form.
Right.
And then more like a male when you switch back. But to get back to my other point, though, did you notice, does it seem like they have different powers?
They do. And it seems like some different powers, but they're both sides of the character are very powerful.
Yes.
And
like one is like unstoppable, it seems like.
The male is definitely very, is almost
like
unstoppable.
Unbreakable.
But it was the male version that stopped Golden Boy.
Right. But then when it changes to female, it can like become transparent or something, and things.
Well, it also had like a force power too, like
telekinetic maybe, or
So
it's pretty cool. I like that dynamic of depending what power the character needs during a fight, it'll switch back and forth to obtain that power. I thought that was kind of a cool thing. It feels like they give a lot of thought to these characters when they develop them.
There's backstory that gets revealed, and it sounds like the initial creation of the series, they spent a lot of time working on the backstory for know how to take the character forward. So it doesn't feel like, we'll just have them all of a sudden be able to do this.
Correct.
It kind of flows naturally, things like that. So I like that about the show.
I also like how the powers a lot of times develop like during puberty or something like that, where in a way where they're not expecting it. Right. So like the main character, she can manipulate blood into weapons and different things. And she didn't know she had that power, and she had her first period, and she kind of freaked out a little bit, which caused it to formed like this blood dagger that shot out and killed her mom, and then she freaked out even more and created like this blood explosion that was shards that killed her dad. And then one of the other characters talks about how she accidentally killed a family member. Oh, the one that can talk and get people to do things. She told her brother to go away and never come back.
Yeah.
And then the brother never came back. So it's cool how these powers develop kind of unpredictably.
Yeah, and that's I think what they're also exploring through the boys and now Gen V is, you know, we always see in comics how, you know, they have these powers, they have complete control. We see once in a while you see someone not. They're really showing that this is a very chaotic time in the world, because as more and more people are becoming superpowered, you know, that can all control it. They all have different powers that developed where it's causes them to lose their mind. We're seeing that with the Sam character. That's Golden Boy's brother. And he's got issues going on in his head with his powers, and he's super strong and powerful and that. So it's an interesting dichotomy that we've got going on with all this.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool storyline. There's and the mystery part of this storyline is that there's a place called the Woods. It's kind of an underground underneath the school. It's where superheroes who maybe don't cut it get sent to, or you know, she gets a warning. The main character, what's her name? Jazz.
Yep.
Wait a minute. Is that their real names or Jordan Lee? So Derek. Okay, so Marie
yeah.
Moreau. That's the character name. Like she's told, like, hey, if you don't make it, it's not good what happens to you. You become a lab experiment, basically. So they hear rumors of this, and after investigating, they find out that happened, that it's true. But the other cool part is then the relationship of like Andre with his dad, who is a famous superhero, Polarity. You know, he always looked up to his dad. Now he sees his dad in a different light now and realizes he's just a cog in the machine, and all he cares about is the ratings and the numbers and, oh, be quiet, don't rock the boat. You know, and he's like, well, wait a minute, aren't we supposed to do superhero stuff? So he's struggling now with the reality of who his dad is. He's not the hero he looked up to growing up. He's mortal. He's a man who, you know, is part of a system,
right,
and is afraid. So they attack all these kind of things, and it's very much like X-Men was in the comics back in the 80s. That's what made it revolutionary. Is these were characters with flaws, with real power. They had powers, but they had to discover the powers, and that's where Professor X came to train them and how to use it, because things could go wrong. And it very much has the feel of, you know, if X-Men came out today, I think it'd be the boys.
In a lot of ways, yeah, I think it would. I mean, they've taken that way into comics a little bit, so. But yeah, it's. I think you're right on that. The X-Men was kind of one of the earlier adopters. I mean, you can kind of go back to Spider-Man a little bit. Spider-Man as a character had flaws, but he had control. For the most part, he got control of his powers. And I think what they're showing here is that if you start, this is different. He starts giving everybody powers. It's almost the Incredibles, where Syndrome goes, once everybody has powers, then nobody's special.
Right.
And that's kind of where this world's going to.
Right.
So.
And the people without powers kind of become thought of as disposable.
Yeah. Now, Michelle has a question. This is different topic, so it's a good way to end our Gen V talk. And I can answer this for sure. She wants to know, is the international version of Girl with Dragon Tattoo. She's seen both the, but likes the international one better. She was talking about a BBC version. The international one was done in Sweden, and I saw the international version of that series of movies based on those books first. And then when I saw the American version of the movie, I too prefer the international version. I think it was a much better translation of the novel. I think it handled it better. The filmmaking was spectacular. Where the American version, they were trying to be too Hollywood with it. And I think it came through too much in the way everything was portrayed and everything else. So I don't know. Have you seen those, Scott?
I saw the American version. I read the book a long time ago. And then they came out with the sequel, but what it was interesting too, the American version, they had the sequel, but it like had nothing to do with the first one. Like they had different actress cast, and
that's where the other one did better. The original version. Pardon me.
Yeah.
2011. Yeah, Stieg Larsson, who unfortunately passed. I guess he was writing another book on that too.
Yeah, I from what I've heard, it sounds like the Swedish version, they kind of went in with the intent of telling the whole story, I think. Whereas the American version, it's like, well, we'll do one and see how it does, and you
Yeah,
know what I mean.
yeah, they did the full run of the movies, and it was done in 2009. And I want to say I'm not sure if they released them in theaters over there or if it was a made for TV, but like a HBO style type
Kevin's
show.
saying each is 3 hours long for the
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah. Like I said, yeah, the Swedish ones were great. Like definitely the first one, it was 2 hours 32 minutes. And then they had 3 of them, and that kind of wraps up the story in some ways. It was originally a trilogy, because then there's the girl who played with fire, and then the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. So let me see which one's which here. 2009 also came out with the girl who kicked the hornet's nest. That was 2 hours 27 minutes, and that one was with Michael Nyquist starred in that. And he was in Mission Impossible. He was in John Wick. He played Vigo. So he's been around. He's an actor that pops between here and there. So let me see here. All this thing here. So I believe he's in all 3. Girls Kicked the Hornet's Nest, and then maybe it wasn't in the next one. So, but yeah, it was. I remember seeing those. They were popped up on Netflix at one time, and just really good movies. Well done. And then let me see here. Yeah, the girl who played with fire. So it's like all 3 are listed as 2009. I don't know if they really did come out that year, or they may have. They may all 3 just come out boom, boom, boom. But yeah, and then but yeah, just the quality. Numi Rapace, I don't even know how to say her name, played the main character in all 3 of those movies. So she was also in Sherlock Holmes: Game of Shadows, Prometheus, played Elizabeth Shaw. But yeah, sometimes it's the remakes over here is not as good as the original, and then sometimes it's the other way around. I think this is one of the cases where Hollywood tried to Hollywoodify it too much, just because the books were at the time were bestsellers worldwide, and then I forget when he died. So
let's see. He died. I just saw that. Shoot.
yeah.
Oh wait, it sounds like there might. What's this? The Girl in the Eagle's Talons was published in 2022.
Okay, that was the one. The girlfriend. He was with the same woman for many years, and she had the book on that, but because they were never married, his family, his father and brother, I think it was, went and sued her, trying to get that copy of that, and she claims she has complete rights over it. She was there with him when he was doing it, things like that. Yeah, he had a heart attack, died suddenly in 2004. So these movies came out after he died. I didn't realize he was already dead by then.
Yeah.
But I remember reading about several years back about the that. So yeah, the books came out posthumously. So 2005 was the first book, 2006 was the second, 2007 was the third. And then so yeah. That's interesting. I didn't realize. I thought it was like 14 he died, after those movies had come out. So
okay.
But yeah, by March he had sold over 80 million copies, and I think I was also fighting over was the money, because I think she helped get everything out there, and then they wanted the money, and something like that.
So it looks like they took the 3 Swedish films and broke them up into a 6-part TV miniseries as well.
Okay, that might have been what I saw as a TV thing.
It was divided into 6 episodes total.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, the movies were done really well. And like I said, it's I'm not sure where they're at right now, where you can see them at, but I would check like Netflix. Prime might have them. So
yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
You ask, we answer.
Well, it was something I had seen, so I knew. I was like, hey, I know this. This is, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, his partner was Ava Gabrielson, and like I said, she was the one that was with him for a long time. Since 1974 to 2004. I mean, at that point, and at least in the United States, it would have been a common law marriage. So
Yeah. Faux show.
yeah, but she was fighting for the rights to his books because she was the one that was there with him the whole time he wrote them. So all right,
Well,
so
she was
cool.
with the Beastie Boys. She'd be fighting for her right to party.
Yeah, she does a lot of stuff herself. She's a writer and all that stuff, but she translated Philip K. Dick's The Man in High Castle into Swedish. So I haven't seen a lot of Swedish films. I've seen a few, and they usually do a pretty good job. They definitely are a little slower pace at times compared to what we're used to in American films.
Yeah.
They're not fully British, but they do mix between British style and American style quite well. So
Yeah. And of course, we have to thank Sweden for their contribution of the Swedish Chef.
well, and also the Swedish bikini team. Go Swedes.
There you go.
So we got Ahsoka.
Ahsoka, yes. That's
Wrapped up the first season.
Also known as Rebels Season 5.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
I did too. And I've been seeing a lot of stuff people post like, oh, it sucks. It was never designed from the get-go. They never said this was like a one and done. We're seeing a lot of stuff like the next step is the movie that Filoni wants to do, and that's still 2 years away. Yeah, John Candy, Swedish Doctor and Splash. Yeah, he was funny. Love John Candy. But yeah, it's a lot coming up. Yeah, I mean, it's they announce movies, but with everything Star Wars, until you actually see that, hey, this is in production, you can't trust anything.
Yeah. So with this finale, what I found interesting, and this you really got to be versed in the Clone Wars and Rebel series. It's really important if you go back to the episodes where Ahsoka goes to the world between worlds in there. But the other part is when something happens. I forget what triggers it, but Anakin and Ahsoka end up meeting the personification of the Force, which is the father, son, and daughter. And what we find out through this is where that was. The last shot of Balin's skull on the big statue of the father. Mm-hmm. The statue is pointing, and then they show behind his back where it's pointing, and in the distance there's a temple with this light at the top. Yeah. It's the same temple Anakin sees when they get to that place. So this is pretty much the birthplace of the Force, is what they're hinting at.
Yes.
And Balin's skull is looking. There's some theories as to what they're doing. So in those animated episodes, Anakin was to take the place of the father. Ahsoka dies in that episode in the cartoon, but the daughter gives her life to give her essence to Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. And so many think Ahsoka became the daughter through that. And they think Balin's skull is trying to take the place of the son. And that's his mission here on this planet.
Yeah.
Another thing that kind of a small little thing, I didn't even notice it till people pointed it out, is in the episode, in the animated thing, after the daughter dies, giving her life to Ahsoka to bring her back, the daughter becomes, there's an owl that keeps appearing next to Ahsoka. And it's believed that that's the essence of the daughter following her around to protect her. I guess in some of the scenes on this planet, you see an owl in the background. Mm-hmm. And so I thought Filoni's throwing in like really like fan service stuff into the backgrounds of these things where it's like, oh my God, there it is. But yeah. So it definitely feels like this is the path he's taking for season 2, is to bring that to life.
In a lot of ways, I really hope he's doing more of a season 2 than just going right to Heir of the Empire movie, as they try to speculate online.
Or they're going to do the Heir of Empire movie, and Ahsoka's not going to be part of it. And Ahsoka season 2 takes place in this other universe, and they never make it back for the big war.
Right. That's possible too. Yeah. because Ezra's where he's supposed to be, according to Ahsoka at the end of the series.
Yep.
So
Yeah. So we have Ahsoka and Sabine on Peridia, I think is the name of that planet.
right, yep.
And then Balin Skull is over there, and his apprentice is there too. The
Correct. She goes back to a bunch of the guys that were helping them in metal, and kind of they're wearing red, but they're kind of a Knights of Ren looking thing. And there's been a lot of speculation is she setting up for the Knights of Ren?
Could be, yeah.
You know, with the birth of the Force at this planet, this is a planet that has both light and dark side as a mix. So there's a lot that can happen there.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting what they're setting up. And the big question though is, what do you do with the character Balin Skull? People are like, some people, you never know how many people there are, who they are, but they're saying, oh, you can't recast Ray Stevens for this role. But I mean, he's played one season of the character, and while he did a phenomenal job, this is just the introduction of the character. I don't think he's established it well enough to say you can never recast this role.
Yeah, Filoni had plans for more of him in future seasons, movies, things like that. Well, they're going to have to do a Dumbledore, and they're going to have to recast it, and they can find someone that can fit the role. You know, it's funny is we lost Michael Gambon last week, who played the second Dumbledore in the movies.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing all this stuff out. It's like, now he's dead. All this stuff comes out of the woodwork. Like, oh yeah, you know, the fans didn't like him. He got threats from fans like, those aren't fans. Yeah, I'm sorry. Those are just morons that threat. If that really happened, never heard about it when it was going on. Personally, everybody I know that saw him come on liked him. In a lot of ways, I mean, as much as I liked the first Dumbledore, I liked him a little bit better.
But
his own take to it too.
I never understood though the first Dumbledore, Richard Harris. He is so old and frail as a human being. Like, casting him, like, you could tell looking at him, he didn't have much time left.
What we know
he wasn't going to do action scenes.
Yeah. Well, what we know of, you know, the character now through the Fantastic Beasts movies, you know, and that he is definitely older in that, but they made him in the movie a lot older. And even in the books, he was never as outgoing, harsh as the Michael Gambon was, you know. The scene where Harry gets picked for the goblet and he goes back there and you see him running through the thing and he gets in Harry's face. That didn't happen like that in the book. The book, he was a lot more calmer. He's like, Harry, put your name in the book. You know, the other one, he's like, Harry, did you do that? You know?
Yeah, he was like a little too aggressive there, I thought.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, he was a little more forthcoming because he had a little bit more energy. But yeah, Richard Harris, you know, part of Richard Harris with the first movie was it gave a huge British name to the movie.
Yeah. I just can't see him ever fighting fighting Voldemort. You know,
but Dumbledore really never fight him much. I mean, Dumbledore can handle because he's very powerful.
Yeah.
But you know, it's one of the things. Richard Harris was just a solid actor. Yeah. Now, when he died, he was 72, so he really wasn't that old.
Really? He looks like 90.
Yeah, he was a lot older than looking wise than he really was.
Oh, okay.
You know, he's one of those guys. Just when he started aging, he aged, and because he was born in 1930, died in 2002, so I had 72 years.
Yeah.
But then Michael Gambon, you know, who did that, but of course we're getting a little slightly off topic, not much. We'll go right back to it. You know, he was born in 1940, so he was 10 years younger than Richard Harris, in a much better shape when he started doing the movies.
So really, by the final movies, he was probably right about the same age as Richard Harris by the time he was done with the movies.
Correct, and a lot of it was all makeup and things like that. So but you know, I personally say, you know, if there's more story to tell, you have to recast the character that dies. And I'm sure they can find somebody that could fit the role. Come close. It won't be exact. I mean, when you look at the two Dumbledores, they didn't look exactly the same, but there was enough that, you know, when you first go see it, you knew it was going to happen. When I first saw the third movie, it was like, okay, he's different, but 10 minutes in, because he knew how to handle it, he was able to do that. So,
yeah. So I guess who would be a good recast?
That's tough.
Yeah.
Because, you know, Ray Stevens, I would not have even thought of in the first place, because he just wasn't on my radar. So
Yeah. I feel like he was, and I think I said this in a previous week on our show here. I feel like he was the personification of the animated version of Count Dooku.
yes,
I feel like he was like a perfect physical representation of that character, and the physicality, the strength, he has a certain ominous gravitas to him that carried very well,
well,
without being overly villainy.
being British helped. I think that's something they have. If they do that, he's well, he was born in Lisburn, United Kingdom, so he was kind of a North Irish actor. They call him British, all that stuff. So they have to find someone, I think, that can personify that. I personally would not want to see a bigger name. They need to find a good character actor, someone that's solid, that's been around a little bit, that could take over the role, things of that nature. So, but yeah, it's something that's gonna be. The whole season. I said this from the second episode. I was like, this does not feel like a one and done season.
Yeah, this is definitely a vehicle to carry forward the story to something larger.
Obi-Wan felt like a one and done season from the beginning. You could see where they're kind of going with it. You know where it has to end up. They can't go too far into things because of the timeline. But if they wanted to do another Obi-Wan, they could, because there's still time to do some things. So Christopher Walken couldn't do it, but for two reasons. One, he's not in the best health anymore, and age. He's about 20 years older.
Yeah.
But plus, Christopher Walken tried out for Han Solo, so that'd be kind of weird.
Could you imagine Christopher Walken as Han Solo? That would just be so crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, Christopher Walken would be bad. I mean, of course, he'd bring more cowbell to it. So.
Yeah. Did you ever, a little side topic, did you ever see, it's an old interview with Mel Gibson about Christopher Walken?
No.
And when he first met Christopher Walken, he legitimately believes Christopher Walken is Satan on Earth.
Oh, wow.
He's like, when I first met him, he didn't even walk to me. He glided, and he's like, there was something evil about it. He's like, I couldn't wait to get away from him. Like, look it up. You could tell Mel Gibson was like terrified of Christopher Walken.
I can do that sometime.
Yeah, it's an old interview from like the 80s or something, but he's like, this guy, I think, is Satan. Crazy stuff.
But, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, but as far as Ahsoka goes, I'm trying to think. The big thing, of course, is Peridia. What's going to happen there, carrying forward to Ahsoka season 2. Era of the Empire is now set up. We've got the return of General Thrawn to the Star Wars universe galaxy, and they're approaching Dathomir, which is the home planet of the witches.
The Dathomir witches.
Dathomir witches. Thank you. Blanked for a second. That's their home planet in that galaxy, but it sounds like Peridia is also the home planet of them. It looks like they use magic, but really, when you read the old, at least the Legends books, I don't know what canon's the new series says, but in Legends, the Dathomir witches also use the Force, just a different aspect of the Force than what the Jedi and the Sith accessed. So they tapped into the Force as well. So not sure how they explain it in the current Disney canon, though.
Well, I mean, even in Rebels and that, they called them witches, and that's what it was a different aspect of the Force. It was pulled more from the dark side, but it wasn't complete like Sith dark side. So
yeah. Did you see who played the Queen Mother Witch or whatever they call her?
Oh yeah, I forgot about that though. Yeah.
What's her name from? Oh my God, Farscape. What is her name?
Oh, let me look up here.
Farscape cast. It was Claudia Black.
Yes,
Claudia Black played the head mother of the Dathomir witches. So that was cool to get her into the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and I like that. And the thing is that we saw them loading up into Thrawn's ship, all these boxes, almost casket-like. And there's been many speculation. Is it troopers? Is it the witches that have all passed? Or they're going to resurrect through the Force? So we saw that they can do that in this. We saw zombie stormtroopers in this episode.
Yep.
last episode.
That was cool. I guess the question is, are they alive to begin with, or are they some form of animated corpse?
Well, and that's the thing. These seem to
And
be more animated corpses for the troopers, which
right.
they knocked them down and then they come back until they basically blew their heads off or something.
Yeah.
So
And
in
then one
true
thing
zombie
that someone
fashion.
else
So
pointed out is the importance of music in Star Wars.
yes.
And when you first are introduced to Thrawn, they use his theme song that they use in the animated series, but there's a twist to it and it sounds slightly demented.
Hmm.
So they're speculating why, with Star Wars, the music always has meaning. So why would you put this twist to the tone when Thrawn is first introduced? So
And when you're dealing with Filoni, he knows a lot of this stuff.
yeah, and he
So
wants to stay true to that.
right.
So it's, is it indicating that Thrawn is twisted by the dark magic of the Dathomir witches? Is it indicating something else? Who knows? But I'm sure Filoni has a reason.
Well, and the thing with Thrawn, have we really gotten, at least in the new canon, any backstory on him as a alien race, or
Maybe
because we really
I
aren't
kind
supposed to
of
see other blue skinned people like that.
yeah. I had the whole history of the Star Wars universe in my head, and then Disney bought them and it's like, oh, we're putting that aside. And I'm like, I can't store another whole history. So for me, the Legends line is the history. I don't know. Just like they changed the lightsaber crystals. Now you bleed the crystal by doing something evil or something, and the crystal bleeds and becomes red. I like the old way. The old way was the Jedi went out and found true organic crystals. The Sith would synthesize their crystals. The Sith's crystals were more powerful,
Yeah.
but they were more erratic, where it could fail on you or crack or break, whereas the Jedis were weaker but more dependable. I thought those were all really cool things. But now it's like the crystal is almost alive in its own way. It feels more magic-y to me the way they do it now. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, looking on like Wikipedia here, Thrawn, they give his race stuff like that, but
Chiss, is it CHISS?
yeah, but that goes back to the original novelization. We don't know if they've
Mhm.
changed anything in the current thing, but I mean, they've got a bunch of Thrawn books out there, which I have not read any of them since the
Yeah.
original 90s stuff, the Legends. So, but the newer stuff is supposed to be official canon, I believe, since it's published during the time of Disney.
But what's great about Filoni is he's constantly trying to find ways to bring in the Legends things into the new canon. So with the original Heir of the Empire book, that really resurrected the Star Wars franchise. Star Wars was dead in 91. There was nothing exciting about it. There was no future. No
But
prequels were
it
coming.
died in 85. They
Yeah.
tried to do these little Ewok movies. Nobody cared.
Right.
Toys that were done. They were just redoing the toys and repackaging them. There was nothing new coming out.
Right.
So
And at that point, Lucas was saying he's done with movies. He wasn't going to do anymore.
he was done with Star Wars. He wasn't done with movies. He was done with
Well, I mean Star Wars movies.
And what he did was that's when he did Willow, and he was doing
Howard the
Duck, things like that. He had some other projects he wanted to do, and then I forget how it came about, but basically it was like, I don't know if it was when they came to him and said, "Hey, you should do some books." He was kind of like, "Okay," he gave basic parameters.
Right.
And they said, we can do these novels, and they got Timothy Zahn to write them. And
so the Heir of the Empire series was the first real introduction to this expanded universe, and it took off. And Star Wars fans were eating up these books. And then it just kept growing and growing. And, they had well over 80 novels that came out of all these different series, and they were so well done. And Filoni is a fan first, and he knows those stories. And so the elements, he's going to try to bring those elements in whenever he can in a way that makes sense. So in that original Heir of the Empire, we had the clone emperor come up, which we know from the sequel series that the emperor is going to clone himself. So, and we've seen from the different series, like the Mandalorian stuff, they keep implying about these cloning projects. So I think the Heir of the Empire movie is going to start digging into that aspect quite a bit, I think. We'll see. The other part of the book the Heir of the Empire series that came out is fan favorite Mara Jade, who ends up marrying Luke Skywalker. That character has never been brought into Legends yet, or into the current canon yet. I
Right.
think Filoni will try to bring that to fruition.
I
Michelle,
think if he has the ability to actually,
she found the Mel Gibson interview about Christopher Walken, right?
yeah,
I mean, you can tell Mel Gibson is terrified,
yeah.
like legitimately terrified of him.
Well, I would say this with Ahsoka and going forward with all the Star Wars TV series / movies that take place from this time forward. If you want to go back and read the original series, Heir to the Empire, Dark Force Rising, and Last Command, not a lot of that's going to make it in because there's some things in there they have not been able to set up. The other things, it does still center around Luke, Leia, Han's in there, Lando's on there, so it dealt with the original characters we all loved, but added in a bunch of new ones between like Thrawn and like I said, Mara Jade. They have a twisted clone of a Jedi Master Grand Admiral killed years before, Joris Sabath. So it's things like that. It's different. I've got them physical copies that I've downloaded on my Kindle, and someday I got to remember to charge my Kindle and read them again.
Yeah.
But it all takes place during the New Republic. So a lot of the stuff that's going on in there, even if it's not full storylines, you can see where Filoni's pulling aspects as he's been doing The Mandalorian, creating the New Republic in these series, dealing with that aspect of stuff. And the hardest part is you've got, unfortunately, Kathleen Kennedy, until she's gone, she said that we will no longer recast the classic characters. So that would be Luke, Leia, things like that for the those ages. I mean, doing the young Leia was one thing, but showing young Luke was another thing. But they won't show them in this timeline as adults, is what she doesn't want. Which, of course, what she wants is High Republic, which nobody wants. But I would say go back and read those. This is, I think, the start of where Filoni really has been pulling from, as well as other novels, which spun off from this when they did all a bunch of different series, and it all really took place from here. So really, there was, I forget how many books came out, but there was a lot of books through the 90s, especially, that were spun off from this, that, they just continue to create, say, okay, I'll pull this aspect. They dealt directly with Mara Jade. They went more into Mara Jade stuff. They dealt with Luke and Mara Jade. We saw more of just Princess Leia. I used to have a bunch of them at one time.
Even things like, now that we've explored beyond the current Star Wars galaxy, and we now know there's these other galaxies, that can open up the possibility of the whole Yazong Wong War and these enemies that came from outside the galaxy into it. And here's what I trust Filoni to do. So my hope that he was going to retcon the sequel movies, that didn't happen, which is fine. But I do trust Filoni through these different TV series and future movies to continue to fill in information in a way that will make the existing sequels better.
Well, and then because that's been the talk a lot more, is that this could fill in some more gaps where if they do it more Rey movies, as been discussed, they're then the stuff they pulled in there, they can pull into the new stuff with her, completely ignoring those three movies, and say, okay, this is where we're at now, and just go from there and hopefully create better stories.
But they could even do the beauty with Star Wars is there's no rule as to, like, nothing's ever chronological. It's like, okay, we're going to do a movie that's 50 years ago. Now we're going to do a movie 100 years in the future. Then 5 years ago. Like, everything's always jumping around. You got to always say, where am I in the timeline? So they could easily, with like the gap of time that exists between episode 7 and 8 or 8 and 9, they could come out with more movies or TV series that fills in story. So then it's like, oh, okay, now episode 8 and 9 are good because he created this whole trilogy in the middle.
But timeline though between the two is not much time.
How much? Oh no, that's right. It was like immediate, wasn't it?
Yes, 8 took place right after, not long after 7, and then 9 took place like within a short time after 8, and then they went through the whole thing. But realistically, I think it's, if they were doing anything in that timeline of those three movies, it'd be something completely away from everybody that would set something else up. I think it's
but
best
even
just
like
to ignore it.
the timeline of episode 8 by itself makes no sense. It's like we have 15 hours of fuel and there's like this 15-hour chase, but somehow Rey leaves, finds Luke, stays 3 days on that planet, and then comes back all within the 15 hours. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah, that was the whole thing I
that made
complained
no
about
sense.
from the get go was, they're running out of fuel. Number two is, they're being chased at a slow speed because the other one can't catch them because of something else.
For
They have
some reason, couldn't hyper jump
yeah,
a short microburst to get in front.
yeah.
Like, it made no sense.
No, the whole thing was just a slow chase. I mean, and then you got the um, Finn and what's her name
Yeah.
taking off and going to the gambler planet,
Which made zero sense in the story.
yeah,
That whole storyline was awful.
yeah. So and then going back to the last movie, you had to have her go through all this training real quick, and basically she was just meditating the whole time, and she got to basically absorb the books, that they were of the Force. She just put her hands on them, and everything was absorbed into her, is how they almost applied it.
Yeah.
And then they kind of went from there, and then so I mean,
even the ending, of the entire sequel trilogy. Have you seen the edit where Rey says, "I'm all the Jedi," and then you see the Force ghost of Obi-Wan, of Anakin, of Luke. Mm-hmm. You see all Qui-Gon. They all appear behind her, and they're using their powers through her to fight the Emperor. That would have been epic. Had they just done that, I could have forgiven everything else. But instead, it was just about Rey. But that ties into how this whole thing starts, and you see Anakin's ghost like fighting the Emperor through her. Like, it gave me chills, and this is a fan edit they did, and it was amazing.
Yeah,
like, why couldn't you have done that?
Yeah, if she was supposed to be all the Jedi, I mean, we heard voices, we heard Obi-Wan, we heard Qui-Gon, but why couldn't
she have their physical representation up here would have been so epic in the theater.
Yeah, and if it truly was all of them, it's almost, well, I mean, it's basically they took it from Harry Potter when he had his family and everything around him when he was fighting Voldemort in episode 4 or movie 4, so he could escape, and that's kind of what that was, and so as much as now they want to say, hey, Harry Potter's just Star Wars with wands, these Star Wars movies are now Harry Potter with lightsabers, so I mean that's just the whole disappointing part of the movies. I can watch the last movie fine because there's some good stuff in there, but he had to cover too much to fix 8, and too much of a redemption for Kylo Ren.
Right.
They'd set up this character who was going to be the new Vader-ish type character, and realistically, he failed miserably, which he kind of did through the starting from the first movie, but after the second movie came, I'm just going to make it a love story where him and Rey fall in love, and then that's what they had to deal with.
Thing was Rey up to Han as a father figure, watches him murder her father figure, and then it's like, okay, but now I'm in love with you. It's like, what? No, this doesn't make sense.
No, a lot of mistakes all the way around.
Yeah. Oh well.
So, but Filoni and Favreau have been doing a great job with what we like. So,
and I trust them moving forward. And I look forward to seeing where all this goes.
Yep. So, hey, we covered a lot. Went over today. It's okay. We don't pay extra for it. So, join us next week. We'll talk some more stuff. I'm not sure what I'll be able to watch this week. We'll see what's coming out. Should be some more streaming stuff. Maybe some good Halloween stuff. Have you had a chance to see Haunted Mansion yet from Disney Plus?
I did not.
Maybe watch that, and we'll discuss that a little bit next week too.
All right.
So, but we'll see what's going on, guys. So y'all take care. Have a great week, and we will see you all soon.